I've been cooking barbecue professionally for over a decade, and I made many, many mistakes along the way. Today, I'm gonna walk you through some of those top mistakes so you can avoid them and give you a beginner barbecue setup for your very own backyard. We're gonna kick things off by talking about the setup, the layout of your backyard cooking station. Now, I like to have a workspace. This is a beautiful rolling tool cart, but for a really long time, I just used a small folding outdoor cooking table, somewhere that you can set down your meat when you're taking things on and off the grill. You can put ingredients or seasonings, whatever you need, have them at hand's length. Another thing that I highly recommend is right under my feet. Now we have a non-flammable mat that goes on the ground around our cooking area. They do make rubberized ones if you're on a wooden deck. You want to protect underneath where your grills are. Not only do you have hot pieces dripping on the ground, but you're also going to have food particles and grease and spillage, and having something that will protect your cooking area is incredibly valuable. When I was a beginner, I did not put down anything under my cooking appliances, and I ended up with many, many grease stains. If you find yourself with a concrete or deck grease stain, I find that the Blue Dawn Power Spray Wash is a great way to get those spills up. Another thing to consider is placement of your grill, and this has a lot to do with convenience and accessibility, but also safety. You want your cooking area to be near your indoor cooking area, so it's easy for you to transition from inside to outside. But you want to avoid any overhanging structures that are too close to the grill. You also want your grills to be far enough away from your house or any other outdoor structures that you can avoid an accidental fire. Most manufacturers recommend that your grill is positioned at least 10 feet away from any outer walls of your house, any fencing, any decking, anything like that. Now we can also talk about our prep area. I recommended a small table. I currently have a rolling tool cart that I got from the hardware store. I think this is fantastic because it has drawers that allow me to put in all of my most used outdoor cooking items, and it has a really great wood surface that I can use with a lot of space for prep. But this is something I didn't get until I was about 8 or 9 years into my barbecue experience. The first handful, I really did just use a side table. One of the biggest mistakes that I made in those early days when I just had that side table was I didn't ever always have the tools that I needed on hand. I would leave something inside, I'd have to run in and get it, I'd burn something on the grill instead of having everything with me when I needed it. So before I got the rolling cart, I got myself a nice little bin that I could take with me outside, and I had everything that I needed within arm's reach right by my grill. Speaking of having your tools easily accessible, let's talk about a few of my favorites. One of my mistakes that I made in beginning barbecue was thinking I needed every single tool that was made to complete my backyard barbecue experience. I really only think you need a handful of absolute essentials. There are a couple things that you need to avoid, but other than that, don't overthink it. Don't buy everything all at once. What you really need are some tongs and a spatula. What you want to avoid are using indoor tongs and spatulas. These handles aren't long enough, you risk burning your hand. These tongs have plastic tips. They could melt when you're flipping hot food on your grill. Get some dedicated grill tools. A really big spatula is awesome for moving big heavy things on the grill. Think a spatchcock chicken or a pork butt. I recommend a silicone brush. You can use the same brush that you use inside if you're baking that you can use outside for barbecue sauce, but having one with a really long handle is fantastic. A pair of kitchen shears, which again, you probably already have, but you'll find yourself using these all the time. One upgrade to make is buying the heavy-duty foil. You'll find yourself turning to this over and over again, whether it's wrapping meats, balling it up to clean up the outside of your grill grates, or using it to line a drip tray. When it comes to seasoning, I think you can definitely overbuy, and that is from somebody that owns their own seasoning company. I love playing with flavors, and I love all the experiments that you can do food-wise with buying a bunch of different seasonings, but I don't think it's strictly necessary, especially if you're a beginner. Start with technique first. Keep the seasoning simple. Good old salt and pepper is really all you need to turn out absolutely delicious grilled food. Last up, I would recommend a really great pair of grilling gloves. These ones are heat insulated and waterproof, so they're great for moving big cuts of meat around on the grill. They're perfect for shredding pulled pork. They are awesome for using with your tongs to protect your hands from the heat of the grill. One more tool that's not really a tool, but still one of the mistakes that I made most often in my early barbecue journey was running out of fuel. Now, if you're not in the habit of making sure that you have gas or pellets or charcoal, and you just assume that the heat will always be on because you're used to cooking in an oven, there's a really good chance you're gonna run out of fuel in the middle of a cook, and I have to tell you, there is absolutely nothing worse than having to finish your burgers or your brisket in your oven. Last up, we have to talk about grill safety, because there are reports coming out every single year of people burning down their garages, their houses, their sheds, or structures because they didn't quite take care of their grill in the correct way. So we talked about positioning your grills far enough away from your house to prevent any accidental fires from coals or flames catching your house on fire. But there's a lot that happens after you're finished grilling that actually is one of the most important things to prepare for. So if you're using a charcoal grill, restricting your airflow, putting out the fire, leaving it away from structures for over 24 hours is one of the best ways to avoid potential fires. Another thing that I highly recommend is an ash pan with a sealed lid. So after your fire has been out for 24 hours, transferring them to a lidded bucket like this is one of the best ways to avoid accidental ignitions of old coals. If you've got a propane grill, make sure all of the propane is off, but your final touch there is to actually unscrew the propane connection entirely. That way there's no way for anything to get in or ignite or for your gas to leak. If you're running something like a pellet grill, make sure it completes the absolute full cool down cycle, and even then, I will not cover it, I will not put it back in my garage or in a structure until it's been 24 hours. We don't play around with grill safety. As a last but really important measure, get yourself a home fire extinguisher. They're not super expensive. I know they expire every couple of years, but the peace of mind from having this has been absolutely invaluable for me and my family. I hope that covers some of the most basic beginner mistakes. If you are what you would consider more of a barbecue expert or even intermediate, if you could share your beginner barbecue mistakes and some safety or grilling tips that you would offer to beginners in the comment section, I think that would be a really beautiful way for this community to help each other out, help the beginners get started, avoid those pitfalls, start making better barbecue faster so they can have amazing backyard experiences, share it with their friends and their family, and become a backyard barbecue hero, because that's really what it's all about. We'll see you guys next time.